I'm Tom from Do-It-Yourself Home Automation, and this is a look at the lane keeping assist function on my Honda Odyssey. And this is Hondasense. It's used in a lot of the newer Honda models. I'm showing this in my Odyssey, but I know they have it also in the Civic and some of the other Honda cars. So basically, it's almost like a self-driving function, although not quite. And you can see the button for it is here on the steering column. And a little bit annoyingly, you actually have to switch this on every time you start the car. It doesn't come on automatically. And you can see if it's on or not by checking the dashboard there. You can see it says ACC and LKAS, lane keeping assist. That means that it's activated, but you actually have to switch it on to get it to operate. So I'm going to go ahead and press the button here, and I do this every time I start driving. And then you can see when I do that on the steering column now, there's those two little lane markers there. And an important thing to note, that means the system is turned on, but because they're open, they're not filled in, that means that it's not actually active right now. It's just ready to go. So I have to reach a particular speed, I believe it's 45 miles an hour, before the function turns on, but as long as I've switched it on the steering column, it will then engage automatically for that drive. So what does it actually do? Once I would get up to speed and reach 45 miles an hour, which obviously I'm not going to do while filming a video, this would turn to be solid, and that would indicate that the system had engaged. And what it actually does is uses a camera that's mounted up here, and it looks at the lane markings on the road, and if they're clear enough, it can actually follow those lane markings for you, and it can actually apply what it calls steering torque, which is a fancy way to say it turns the wheel in your hands in sort of a little bit terrifying way, to follow the lane and keep you in the middle of the lane. And you have to still keep a hand on the wheel. So it's not like Tesla autopilot where it's really a full self-driving function. But if you keep a hand on the wheel and just sort of lightly correct it as you need to, it'll actually pretty much drive the car for you as long as you're over 45 miles an hour. And the lane markings are clear enough. So that little indicator, if it's raining, if the lane markings on the road are kind of worn, it might go to be these open lines and show you that it's not working, or if you drop below 45 miles an hour. But I find it's a really helpful function for long highway drives, because then you're really keeping your hands on the wheel and giving it a little bit of input, but fundamentally it's doing a lot of the kind of small corrections and driving for you. It's also really nice because it keeps you in the center of the lane. So if you're the sort of person who kind of bumps from side to side, or maybe you have trouble seeing the center of the lane sometimes, it'll actually help you to stay in the middle of that lane. So kind of a cool function. Of course, from a safety perspective, it's really not there yet completely, so you always want to be watching the road. You always want to have your hands on the wheel and ready to take over. And I find if there's a sharper curve, it sometimes doesn't manage to fully keep you in the center of the lane. You can also end up sort of bouncing back and forth between one side of the lane markings and the other. So definitely still an early function, but something that's really cool and useful for longer drives. Again, one little annoyance that I wish Honda would change, you do have to press that button to engage it every time you start the car. I guess it's a safety feature. They don't want you to forget that it's on, but it's kind of a neat feeling. You're driving and the wheel starts kind of turning itself a little bit to keep you better centered in the lane. If you found this helpful in any way, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps.